I like to think of joy as peace dancing. Joy is peace dancing. And in my usual fashion, I'm not going to do a traditional joy talk. I'm going to kind of come in through it in a little bit of a back door. This year, if you heard last week, the 4 weeks of Advent for me are very different than, there's nothing wrong with what has been done in the past. And I believe we need to continue to evolve, and I believe we need to continue to take the teachings, to take, what's alive for us and make it relevant for today. And for me, I grew up Catholic, and I have no baggage around that. I was one of the very fortunate few. I was raised by order priests who are the good trouble priests. They're the Franciscans. They're like the Richard Rohrs, the Matthew Fox, the Thomas Keating. Those are all order priests. So Trappist, Capuchin, Jesuit, Franciscan, lots of different orders. So I was raised by the Matthew Foxes, the Richard Rohrs, the very progressive Catholics. So I have no baggage because I was raised with the heart of the teachings. And what I was taught, the heart of Advent, and what the Advent season is a season of waiting. That it's really a season of waiting. And yes, of course, there's hope and faith and peace and love and joy in all of that. But the season itself, the word Advent means something's arriving. Something's on its way. It isn't here yet, but it's coming. And so this year, I have put the 4 weeks of Advent into week 1 is the dark. Because we're in the dark. It's the darkest time of the year. So physically, here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the darkest time of the year. So we have this physical darkness, right? You get up and it's dark. I go to work and it's dark. I come home and it's dark. I'm like, where did the light go? I have to remember to look out the window. And yet there's an enormous amount of dark that's out in the world right now. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of upheaval, there's a lot of upset. And there's no point in trying to ignore it. To me, there's no point in trying to ignore it. And yet, it's not an either or, right? We can see the stars in the dark night because it's dark. Right? And so with the dark that goes on around us outside, our lived experiences and people that are suffering, marginalized communities, those that are houseless and live in places that have food apartheid and just lots of going without. I believe, being fully divine and fully human, that what my job is here in this lifetime is to take care of people, right? Even those that make me nuts, right? Even those that, just 2 days ago I was on the phone with my mother, and I love my mother. I don't really have, I think everybody has some little issue with their mother, at least some little thing. Some people bigger than others. Some people don't have an experience of a mother at all. Right? So lots of different mothers. But I was on the phone with her, and I found myself going, because I just want, okay, stop. Preaching to the choir. It was one of those Captain Obvious things. Yes, mother, I know. Yes, mom, I know. And it all comes from caring. But in that moment, you're like, just stop talking, right? So there's these moments of where I'm not my shiniest self. There's these moments when I just want to be in the joy. Can't we skip over everything else and just go straight to joy? Doesn't that sound better? Doesn't it sound easier? No, yeah. It's not easier, first of all. And no, you can't skip over, not in my world, not what I've learned. And why would I want to? That's the question I ask myself, is why would I want to? Why would I want to skip over the dark? Right? Why would I want to skip over I know why, cognitively. It's uncomfortable, right? I want to do the thing of, feel the wall till I can find the switch and turn on the light. Whew. then everything's better. But you know what? There's fertile ground in the dark. The dark is where we find the light, right? The dark is what nurtures. So my first week of Advent was about the dark and really understanding it more. My internal dark, right? We talk about the shadow. Those pieces of Kelly that have been unlived and unloved. Those pieces of Kelly that I sort of neglect, I don't want to pay attention to, but I need to kind of bring them home, take care of them. Remember I said in the opening prayer, everything's welcome at the Advent altar? And then week 2 was about the body, physically the body. I mean, the story of Christmas is a woman carrying a baby. Does it get more bodily than that? Right? A woman carrying a baby, giving birth. So I look at the body, so the physical body, right? Caring for the physical body, but also embodied spirituality. Where does it live in my body? Where do the dark things, right? The discomfort, the tensions, the conflict, where do they live in my body? Because therein lies the direction of my healing. Therein lies the direction of my denials, my affirmations. Therein lies the direction of my compassion, right? And we're also a communal body. We are a collective womb, believe it or not. We are a communal womb that is, cares for each other, feeds each other, and is birthing whatever, regularly, right? It's not like one and done. It's never over. And then last week, the third week, was about silence, being silenced. Not Charles Fillmore in the silence, but just, right? Being silent. And noticing how often we aren't, and when we don't, and why we shy away from it, and what happens when we are silent. How many of us go to our to-do list? If nobody else will confess, I will, right? How many of us go to just something, all of a sudden the brain starts working? But the silent is part of this season of waiting, right? Being still, being quiet. Not silence like meditation silence, but literally just quiet. Just sit quiet. Notice the urgency to move out of it. Notice the discomfort, the wanting to move out of it. That's our call to stay in it. Rest. Rest, restore, repair. So this week is the waiting. So this last week of Advent is about the waiting. And not because, right, we're now in the week before Christmas. Anybody feeling rushed about anything? One or two things. So the minute we feel this urgency, we feel this rush, right? Got to get it done, oh, got to do that, oh, wait, where's that, and divvying up chores and, emails and phone calls and parties and, decorations and a lot of it's fun. It's not about not, but notice the urgency. Notice the pushing to get something done. It's an invitation to stop and wait. This is a season of waiting. How often do you, does somebody, like maybe you get a phone call or you're in a conversation and somebody says something to you and you realize you didn't catch it and you go, oh, just a second. And the other person says, okay, I'll wait. And then what is that? Do we even notice that there is a waiting? And how long do we wait? Like, that's okay, I'll wait. And do we really pause and wait? It's just interesting to think about. That I think we say the word a lot. I think we think about it. But then, I can't wait anymore. I got to go. I can't wait any longer for this. I got to go. I can't wait for the commercial to end. I got to do something else. I'll never forget the first time I was visiting my mother, where we were watching something on TV, and all of a sudden the TV was mute, like there was no more sound coming out of it. And I'm like, what happened to the sound? She goes, oh, I always mute the commercials. She goes, I can't stand them. I have to wait through the commercials. I'm like, oh, yeah, how traumatizing. Can I wait, through a commercial? And yet that's where we are. I don't mean it as a criticism, but think about where the waiting is. Just being still, not waiting to imagine what I might be birthing, right? So we know Advent, no spoiler alert. We know how it ends, right? There's a baby born. So, but are we willing to just wait without thinking about what's emerging? We talk in Unity, the teaching is it's not so much about baby Jesus being born, but Christ consciousness, right? The Christ. But are we willing to just wait, not try to imagine what that needs to look like, not try to imagine how I should be, not try to, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, not make a list of what that looks like or how I have to be, just wait. Just wait. It's not really our strong suit, right? I know that might be a bummer, might be new information, but you know what? It is the language of Advent, waiting. Waiting is the language of Advent. So you probably wonder, what the heck does that have to do with joy? Let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to something that sounds funner. Let's get to the joy, right? And I'm with you, right? But I don't want to get to an artificial Christmas cheer. I don't want to get to something that I've rushed to, right? That I've pushed through to get to because I'm uncomfortable with silence. I'm uncomfortable with dark. I'm uncomfortable with the suffering I see around me because I can't do anything about it, maybe, right? Morgan Harper Nichols put it this way: and as you lean into light, be gentle with the word darkness. It is the color of a full, starless night sky and actual bodies of human beings who have been overlooked too many times. Many, many words hold more than one meaning. Let me say that again for you. And as you lean into light, which is what we're kind of doing, right? We're moving through a season of Advent, leaning into light, which is Christmas, which is the birth, Christ. We're leaning into light. As you lean into light, be gentle with the word darkness. It is the color of a full, starless night sky and actual bodies of human beings who have been overlooked too many times. Many, many words hold more than one meaning. So it's also this, when I talk about embodied spirituality, when I talk about being silent, when I talk about waiting and the dark, I'm not just talking metaphorically, right? When I talk about a communal womb, I'm talking about all of us. All of us. So when I think about the dark and I think about the body and then silent and then the waiting, it starts to feel a little like, okay, where's the Christmas cheer? It can feel a little heavy. Like I don't want to be that responsible. And yet I'm a human being on this planet. I'm among people. I am that responsible. And if I'm not going to do something, okay, that's fine. If I'm not going to engage in easing suffering, that's fine. Let's just be honest with yourself. Right? If I'm too tired, it's too overwhelming, I feel powerless, I feel hopeless, you get to feel that. You get to have that. Just wait. Just wait with it. It's telling you that you need to be silent and sit and wait. So when it comes to joy, I said earlier it's peace dancing. So you kind of have to know what's peace for you, right? What's peace for you? And then what does that look like dancing? And peace is an internal and an external thing. It can be a noun and it can be a verb. Just like love, just like hope, just like faith. Interesting, all All of our spiritual principles are like nouns and verbs, right? Makes it a little more work. And some days I don't want to work that hard. But I think everybody wants that joy, right? And sometimes it's hard to actually define it, which is why I say joy is peace dancing. But what exactly is that, and how do I get to it, and why do I care? And is it, sometimes it seems like it's an instant gratification, like, oh, look, there it is, joy. And then other times it's not. Or at least for me, I have an experience and I walk away from it and I'm like, wasn't I supposed to feel joy in that? But as I'm walking away from it, I'm realizing I didn't. Maybe I'm at a birthday party, or I was just recently at a Christmas party. I was a +1. Yeah, that's always fun, right? And I was at this Christmas party, and I left, and I'm like, I was just at a Christmas party in a ginormous arcade that was free. But as I left, I'm like, aren't I supposed to feel joy? I didn't. I had to wait. I just had to wait. Rather than trying to go digging and find it, and where is it, and what did I do wrong, and how come I'm not feeling joy, and I'm not being grateful, and I'm not this, I'm not that, and blah, 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 blah. Now I'm definitely not in joy. Once the brain starts going, I'm definitely not in the waiting. I'm definitely not in the silent. So I just think that at least for me, these definitions of what joy is and how I'm supposed to go about getting it and how do I be it, and maybe if I had this thing or that experience or that stuff over there, then I'd have some joy. And sometimes that's true, and sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. When I think about that, when I think about joy, in terms of sometimes it feels instantaneous, like you just, poop, there it is. I love that. It's unexpected. And sometimes I wait. Oh, there it is, for whatever reason. But I have to be willing to wait, right? And the times when I have to wait, sometimes it's a matter of digging a little bit, being still so something emerges. And that reminds me of, in the Gospel of Matthew, in chapter 13, there's the story of Jesus. The writer of the Gospel of Matthew gives one of these parables, attributes to Jesus, that the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid again. And from joy over it, he goes and he sells all that he has and buys the field. So here's this guy that goes out to a field, digs in the dirt, finds a treasure, is so overjoyed, he sells everything he has so he can buy this field. And then as the story goes on, he goes back and he keeps digging and he finds more treasures, and then he finds more treasures, and he keeps buying other pieces of land and finding more treasures. And the deeper he goes, the more treasures he finds. And there are sometimes I feel a little... I have mixed feelings about the story, because I'm like, no, there isn't always something to do. Like this constant go digging, this constant go buy another field. But then I listen to the story again, and yes, it's not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that he's out there digging in a field. There's a waiting in between. There's a pausing in between. He's not out there digging in a field finding treasure every moment of every single day. But, if you think about it, the story, he goes out, then goes back to his life, comes back and digs some more. I mean, I don't know that that's true, but I can't imagine anybody digging 24/7. So I take that story, and that's kind of like how joy is for me. When it's not an immediate thing, right? It's a wait. Just wait. Just wait, and it emerges. Just wait, and it emerges. And it may be very quiet, right? Joy doesn't always look like unicorns and balloons and cotton candy and lots of noise and celebration, and sometimes it does. But sometimes it's much quieter. Sometimes it's just a realization that, oh, I can do that. Oh, I already have that. Oh, wait, if I just dig a little deeper, right, inside me, oh, a new treasure. Right? If I just dig a little deeper into you, into your world, oh, another treasure. I do this at the beginning of every class that I teach. I have the students introduce themselves, their name, and it's pretty much I teach online, so they're from all over the world. So their name, where they're dialing in from, and then tell us something we wouldn't know about you. And the one big rule is nothing to do with unity, nothing to do with spirituality. I don't want to hear, I love to meditate. No. I want to hear, I planted 100 tulip bulbs last spring. Right? I would never know that about you. Or I love to go mud skiing. Right? See, some people are like, what? So it's the invitation to tell me something about you I wouldn't know. So then I kind of go, oh, didn't know that. Dig a little deeper. There's a little more joy. There's a little more joy in our connection, a little more joy in our relationship. Just in the everyday, ordinary things, that's where it lives. I believe that's where joy lives, in the everyday, ordinary things. And we zip by it without knowing. So how I use that in the Advent story is I go back to Mary. So Mary is carrying this child, right? She represents this communal body. Metaphysically, she's about faith, right? For me, she's a faith-filled doorway. She's a faith-filled doorway because there's this entrance, right? She's carrying this child, she'll birth this child, the end of something and the beginning of something else. So I think of Mary as this doorway. So then I put that, so what does that mean in Kelly's world? Well, if I go back and think about it, how many doorways did I walk through today already? Well, I got up from bed, I walked into the bathroom, walked back into the bedroom, walked from the bedroom to the living room, walked from the living room to the bathroom, walked from the bathroom back to the kitchen. I mean, that's 5 already. In every doorway, how many did I enter coming in here? Right? There's the outside door, and then there's this door here. Then I had to go back here to get the mic on. That was another 3. If I pause at every single doorway and just wait for a moment, I get the practice of waiting. I get to be reminded of this story of Advent. I get to be reminded of Mary, right? This communal womb, carrying a child in the dark, right? In the dark, and at times being silent and just waiting. And then eventually, babies come when they're ready. What's going to emerge for us comes when it's ready, which doesn't mean I don't have work to do. It doesn't mean I just sit and wait for everything to unfold. But I use doorways as a very specific, everyday example of a way, a time, a place for me to stop and just wait. Of course, you may want to not do it at the entrance of a bathroom to stop and wait. There may be people behind you wanting to get in. But think of it. Think of every time you go through a doorway. Pause, wait inside yourself, and ask yourself, what's waiting? What's waiting? What am I waiting for? Don't go try to get it. Just, what am I waiting for? What am I waiting for? Part of waiting is longing and yearning, right? And desiring. Those are all words that are used by the mystics to describe the activity of God. So wait. Notice the yearning. Notice the longing. Right? Let's take a deep breath together and spend a little time, a few minutes in meditation to practice a little waiting. Practice a little yearning. If you're comfortable, you can close your outer eyes, or you can leave them open. Maybe lower your gaze, a soft gaze. Keeping in mind that not everyone feels safe by just closing their eyes. To close their eyes and go within can be very scary for people, some people. So in whatever way you have a sense of being present, of being grounded, of being settled, do what works for you. Advent is a time to sit, to wait, to rest, to pause, to turn towards the arriving, not yet here. Ask yourself, what if I were more acquainted with waiting? Not trying to make anything happen, just waiting. Who would I want to wait with through my pain? Who would I want to wait with through my joy? Because we wait, we pause, we stay, we rest for a while. Because we do that, we can know that something is growing, that something is stirring in our collective womb. That something is emerging from our collective stories. What if I were more acquainted with waiting? What if I were more acquainted with waiting? With those ordinary moments of every day. Am I too busy chasing down the extraordinary and missing the time of being with the ordinary? Like just passing through a doorway. And if I wait and ponder, I find the deeper treasures. I find the joy in whatever form it comes. We know this last week of Advent is the waiting, for the birth. And by waiting, practicing the waiting, not trying to imagine anything or create anything or manifest anything, just waiting. What we discover come Christmas is a deeper and greater light that is joy. That is each one of our lights. There is the communal joy that is created in our collective womb. Being nurtured, being fed, and waiting. So let's take a moment in the quiet and just wait. And as you wait, notice what thoughts come up. Notice the emotions, the physical sensations. Don't change anything, just wait and welcome it all to this Advent altar as we wait in the stillness. Waiting is the language of Advent, because something is arriving, yet not yet here. As you move through the rest of your day and week and into Christmas, use a doorway as an opportunity to pause and wait for however long. Just wait, ponder, listen, and whatever emerges, know that it is all welcome. And in time, the light and the joy emerges with greater brilliance than we could have ever imagined. With greater brilliance than we could ever imagine. And so it is. Amen.